Hey friends, and welcome to the Average Gal's Guide to Anxiety. In today's video, I thought I would share my personal story with my anxiety disorder. Today's video is going to be uncut, unedited, and just purely me. But I thought I would share my story and talk about where things started for me and where I've gone since it started, and talk about all the steps that I've been through and what I've done to combat my anxiety over the years. So for me, things started when I was about 8 years old, or 9, I think. About the end of third grade, I noticed some symptoms starting. I was a little more hesitant to participate in classroom activities, and I would hang out with my teacher a lot. And then in fourth grade, in the first semester, was when things really kicked off for me. I had a hard time going to school or staying at school. And I was just shaking, crying all the time, and throwing up and feeling nauseous a lot. I went through a very long period where my mom was having to basically bribe me to go to school. I very clearly remember a little tub of like these little Harry Potter trinkets and little toys and candy and stuff that my mom would reward me with if I could make it through an entire day of school, and we set up a whole system. But through all of that was when my parents were starting to realize that something really, really bad was going on with me. And so they decided to take me to a child psychologist. And he talked with me, he ran some tests. And I don't really remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember just doing some activities so he could see like how my brain was working, what was going on with me. And so after all of that, he diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. And so he started to work with me a little bit on ways to combat it and ways to help me deal with the symptoms that I was experiencing at the time. And so that was the start of my journey with the disorder, and then also my journey with counseling and therapy and trying to work through it. And he taught me a lot of great things, because one of my biggest triggers was obviously public places, so school, church, and one of my really big ones for some reason was movie theaters. I had a really hard time going to a movie and not feeling nauseous, and so he encouraged me to try it and try getting through a movie without getting sick, and that took years, but I did get there. And that still throws up, obviously, over time, but I've managed to work through that a lot. But one of the big things he worked with me on when I was a kid was a little bit of exposure therapy, and then kind of rationalizing through my thoughts that were going through my head. So kind of rationalizing through, like, why do I feel this way? Is it realistic to feel that way? Just kind of combating my thoughts to rewire my brain a little bit. And he was also the first person to recommend some medication that I could try. And since I was a child, he recommended, I think, just a small dose of the medicine that I still take today. And so that was a bit of a struggle at first. And you can ask my parents, they tried every single method to help me get started on it. But I noticed once I really got going with medication, it helped rewire my brain a lot, and it helped me to function more normally. And so after going through that, I was able to stay in school. For the most part, I was able to stay in church services and be a normal kid at that moment. So fifth grade, we moved to another town for my dad's job, and then I was thriving pretty much. I was having a few moments here and there, but I was doing really well. And so our general physician took me off of the medication once I got better. And then I want to say around 7th grade was when things kind of started cropping up for me again. And it was around that time and through high school that I noticed a pattern of I would be on medication, or he would have me on medication, and I would do really well after a while, and I was able to function again and able to feel normal. And then he would take me off of it, and then I would feel fine for about a year or two, having little tiny moments here and there. And then I would really start to struggle again. And so no matter what I was learning in therapy and counseling, and no matter what I was trying without medication, I was really struggling to function, unfortunately. On medication, my symptoms and my struggles were pretty mild and sometimes moderate, but without it, it was really severe. Like, it was just hitting me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't hardly go anywhere or do anything. I was getting sick all the time. I couldn't keep food down. So for those of you who knew me in middle school and high school, that was the reason I was so tiny, was because I was going through like months-long periods of hardly being able to eat anything and barely keeping down water. It was honestly really scary at times because I was just going through the worst and trying to go through, puberty and middle school and high school and finding friends and finding out who I was. And when you're battling anxiety at a time like that in your life, you start to really feel like you're just absolutely crazy. But I managed to get through all those periods, and I went on to college. I had an amazing freshman year of college. Had a couple of bumps in the road through that, but I was able to get through it. And then the summer after my freshman year, I helped take care of my grandma that summer. And then my world just kind of came crashing down around me, watching her fade over that summer. And I don't regret spending that summer with her at all. That was one of the most cherished times of my life. But that kind of changed the course of my 19-year-old life and into my 20s. And so I ended up taking a year off of college and kind of getting myself a little bit back in order. I got back on medication. I started seeing a new therapist. And she helped me work through a lot of the things that I was feeling and things that I was trying to get through during that time. And I started seeing a psychiatrist who kept me on medication permanently, which has really helped a lot over the years. But it's definitely been a challenge over the years trying to figure out how to combat my anxiety and how to live a normal or as normal a life as possible. But I give so much credit to the counselors and the psychiatrists that I've seen, and so much credit to my parents and my brother, and all of my amazing family members and friends who have gotten me through these last 20 years. I didn't think I would be here today doing a YouTube video or talking to a camera at all about all of this, because I hid it for a long time, just feeling so much shame about how my brain worked and how I dealt with things in the world. But I just wanted to share a little bit more of my story because I've told bits and pieces over the years to people just to try to encourage them or make them feel less alone. But I know what it feels like to feel like you're fighting against your brain every single day, even when things are normal. I was a normal kid. I had a great life, a great childhood, wonderful parents, and a wonderful brother. And things were normal, but anxiety comes for you no matter what's going on in your life. It can be triggered by something big, and it can be triggered by nothing at all. Sometimes it just comes down to genetics and family history of having these things go on. But I wanted to normalize this a little bit more and make people feel less alone, because I know how it feels to be sitting in a classroom when you're a teenager trying to fit in, trying to be normal, and feeling like you're far from that. I used to sit in my classes trying to be a normal kid and trying to have fun and enjoy my life. And all of a sudden having a wave of anxiety hit me and stifling nausea and vomit in the middle of a class period. So this is a little bit rambly, but I decided to just do an unedited free thought video about what I've been through in the last 20 years and how much work I've put in, but I'm so proud of myself. I'm married to a wonderful man. I own my own home at 29. I have a wonderful job with wonderful coworkers, and I have my bachelor's degree. And I just want people to know that it's possible, despite whatever anxiety, depression you've got going on. It is so possible to live a fulfilling and beautiful life. But I want people to know that they're not alone in feeling this way and they're not crazy. There's so many other people in the world like me and like us. And I hope that this video makes you feel a lot less alone. And I hope this resonates with you. So leave a note in the comments for me. Leave me your own experiences. I want to create community through this. And I want you to know that if I can do this, you can do this. And I'm always here for anyone who's struggling. I hope people know that. Anyway, this has been a long rambly video, and this is not something that I'm normally comfortable with, but I'm so happy to share my story and to share what I've been through and to give people more hope. Thank you, and I hope you continue to watch my videos and tell me what you want to hear from me in the future.